On April 18, 1912, at 9:30 p.m. in New York, USA, amidst heavy rain, a crowd of approximately 40,000 people was waiting anxiously. It was a dark night, and New York was on the verge of experiencing a wave of sorrow. For 3 days, these people had been eagerly awaiting the arrival of a ship named Carpathia. The Carpathia was bringing back a tragic story that still sends chills down our spines today. The RMS Titanic, a ship believed to be unsinkable, had consigned hundreds of lives to the ocean. A few survivors on the Carpathia had witnessed the Titanic's wrath firsthand. This harrowing event remains unforgettable in history, leaving many mysteries behind. To this video. On April 10, 1912, when the Titanic set off on its maiden voyage from Southampton, Britain, to New York, the atmosphere was electric with excitement. People had heard so much about the Titanic that more than 100,000 gathered to witness its grandeur and beauty. The ship was 269 meters long and 53 meters high, taller than an 8-story building. Its exterior was grand, but its interior was even more luxurious, featuring large grand staircases, heated swimming pools, a gym, 4 restaurants, a library, Turkish baths, electric baths, and a barbershop. It was like a luxurious hotel on the move with all amenities. The Titanic was notable not only for its luxury but also for its safety. At the time, it was the world's largest, safest, and strongest ship, designed to be unsinkable. Its hull was double-bottomed, providing extra safety. Ships often collide with underwater rocks or other obstacles, but the Titanic's double-bottom hull would protect it even if the outer layer was breached. Additionally, the Titanic was divided into 16 watertight compartments. In case of a breach, only the affected compartment would fill with water, keeping the ship afloat. The Titanic could stay afloat even if 4 compartments were breached, a seemingly impossible scenario.
The Titanic was built by the White Star Line Company over 3 years and completed on April 2, 1912. Just days later, it was prepared for its maiden voyage on April 10, 1912. The ship carried prominent passengers and immigrants seeking a new life in America. Captain Edward John Smith, a 62-year-old experienced captain, led this journey, which was to be his last before retirement. The Titanic aimed to reach New York in 6 days, faster than the usual 7 to 8 days, showcasing not just its grandeur but also its speed. Captain Smith received instructions to maintain full speed despite the ship's safety tests and trials not being fully completed. White Star Line had another ship, the Olympic, which was smaller but similar to the Titanic. In March 1912, the Olympic required emergency repairs, potentially halting the company's business. To maintain operations, the Titanic was launched in April. Some experienced crew members from the Olympic joined the Titanic. David Blair, an officer on the Titanic, accidentally took the locker key with him when he left, locking away the only binoculars on board. This small mistake contributed to the Titanic's fate. On April 10, 1912, the Titanic set sail. Captain Smith, aware of the icebergs common during this time of year, chose a slightly longer southern route to avoid them. Icebergs, chunks of ice breaking off from glaciers, flowed into the Atlantic, taking about 2 years to reach open ocean and usually melting by then. Only the largest icebergs reached the mid-Atlantic. In those days, ships relied on lookout posts to spot icebergs. The Titanic's lookout post, or crow's nest, was manned by Frederick Fleet and Reginald Lee, who faced freezing winds without binoculars. At 11:30 p.m. on April 14, Fleet spotted an iceberg ahead. Despite immediate action to reverse engines and turn the ship left, the Titanic's speed and size made it impossible to avoid collision. At 11:40 p.m., the starboard side struck. On April 14, Fleet spotted an iceberg ahead. Despite immediate action to reverse engines and turn the ship left, the Titanic's speed and size made it impossible to avoid collision. At 11:40 p.m., the starboard side struck the iceberg, damaging 6 compartments. Captain Smith realized the unsinkable ship was doomed. Distress signals were sent, but no nearby ships responded. The Titanic's 20 lifeboats could only save about 1,200 people out of the 2,200 on board. Many lifeboats launched half-filled, prioritizing women and children. Some passengers remained in disbelief, while others leapt into the freezing water, where survival was limited to 15 to 30 minutes. The Carpathia, responding to distress signals, was 107 kilometers away and would take 4 hours to arrive. As the Titanic tilted and water filled its compartments, panic ensued. The ship split in two and sank at 2:20 a.m., taking over 1,500 lives. Carpathia arrived 2 hours later, rescuing only 706 survivors.